Hey, welcome guys. So today we're going to take a look at Tamiya's Panzer IV 70A. Now, I was under the impression that this was a brand new kit from Tamiya. I was wrong. This was released in 2023, so it is new, but it's actually a new tooling of Tamiya's 70V, which came out in 2014. Now this was a brand new kit, brand new tooling, everything like that, which it makes a lot of sense because looking at the history of both of these vehicles, this one came first and the 70A came second. So the 70A is going to be based off the chassis of the 70V. So this very much makes sense that it would use the same parts. At the end of the day, Germany was trying to put this L70 gun, which is on both vehicles. They were trying to fit that 75mm gun onto a Panzer IV chassis. So both these kits are just ways in which they were able to do that. Now, this kit, there were 200, I think it was 240, I'm going to forget off the top of my head, that were made. So this is a late war tank, made in 1944, and then obviously into 1945. So it wasn't the most common vehicle on the battlefield, but probably for the Battle of Germany and Battle of the Bulge, on the Eastern Front, right, in Berlin, things like that. This would have been fairly common, 240 made in a year. So you would have seen it. And I do believe I saw one in Band of Brothers, if I can remember correctly. But let's take a look. And right before we open the box, I'm going to let you know that this is not going to be an out-of-the-box build. There are some detailed parts, detail-up parts, as Tamiya calls them, available for this vehicle. And for the purpose of, one, I've never used any of their detail-up parts, so for my own purpose, but also for the purpose of doing a little bit of a review of them, and is it worth it or not? I got some, so let's open it up. Let's see what those detail-up parts are, as I fumble the top of the box. So, the detail-up parts for this kit includes fully detailed gun and a metal gun barrel. Now, I am excited because this is a convenience thing, right? When we look at the gun that comes in this kit, and in the 70V for that matter, they're one-piece guns in plastic. Yes, they have two seam lines. I don't have to say anything here. So, convenience-wise, this is great. Now, this kit does have workable hatches. I generally don't keep them workable. We'll see. I've heard that the engineering on this kit is very nice, so maybe it will be, possible for us to do so, maybe not, but this will just add that little bit to the interior that I plan on doing the figure in this kit. So some interior will be visible. Now, how much, I don't know. He probably takes up 80% of the hatch, but we do get a fully detailed gun inside the vehicle. So that's fun, right? Is it necessary? No, probably not. But we're going to build it anyways. So before we take a look at the plastic and the instructions for that matter, I want to show you guys this. Obviously, I've opened this box and I've looked through everything before, but this is the nicest part about this kit, aside from, the actual finished product and the engineering. This is the nicest extra that's in this kit. So this is something that Tamiya has done, in my opinion, very, very well lately. They've done it also in some older kits, or some revamped versions of kits. And I've started to see from other model companies, but I kind of feel like we deserve this kind of thing, right? There's a lot of research and things that are going into every single one of these kits, at least we hope there is. And these are good learning opportunities for us, right, to learn a little bit more about some of the vehicles. So, what do we get? We get full color paint schemes. Now, there's essentially only one paint scheme. One has dots and one doesn't, but they're both the triple colored camo, tricolored, three color, whatever you want to call it, the classic German camo. And then the one on the left obviously has the yellow dots. So this was Western Front, this on the right was Eastern Front, which I guess would have been the difference there. Although we don't get a specific, like an exact vehicle, we do get the brigade that it was in. So, we also get some nice information. Now, there's other information on the actual tank. This is on the actual vehicle itself. So, this is really interesting to learn that, you know, it would have come in that base coat of yellow, which is how we see it here. We get these awesome reference photos, really, really awesome, which help us as a modeler, but also, again, for the historic perspective and learning about this vehicle and actually seeing it, this is huge. And then, you know, the crews were supplied with those 3 different colors in order to paint it in their camo pattern. So that's cool, right? It's something else. Half of this doesn't pertain to some of us because I can't read Japanese, but lucky for me, I can read the English that's here on this kind of middle page. Now, this is also really nice. This is just nomenclature, right? So, obviously, a lot of us know what some of this stuff is, and these are really basic terms, but it's always nice to know, again, what you're building, what parts you're using, because it is a way for us to learn. You know, a lot of us like the history around this subject and are interested in it. So the more times that we have to learn in the more different ways, the better. Now, we get a good half page here on the, you know, seeking greater firepower, Panzer IV, 70A design, and then the deployment and performance. So you get that whole front to back kind of history on it. So I just wanted to show you guys this first because this is really, really nice. And every model kit, I really, really hope going forward, I hope every single kit that's made by any company, I hope they all include something like that. The reference photos, all of it. It's just, it really adds to just the quality of the product, right? I'm not going to bore you with instructions. I certainly won't bore you with the gun instructions because it's very, very simple. But I will quickly point out that the instructions, classic Tamiya, it does tell you here that, you know, the metal gun barrel is available if you know, are interested. But one thing to point out is there are no holes that need to be drilled in this kit. I know I've done a kind of essential, you know, things for a beginner's guide and everything like that. You don't need much for this kit. You know, sprue cutters and glue are really going to be it. You know, it tells you 100 times to cut things off with a hobby knife, but there's nothing really crazy here that you're going to need extra tools for or anything. We'll get to extra tools you need for those. Now, you can definitely tell, so these are the newer road wheels and drive sprockets and everything like that. There's some periscopes on here. This is, now I'm guessing that it's new because there is some additional detailed things here. Now, there's some like molded on cast texture here. But to be completely honest with you, after looking at this for 1 second, I'm thinking that these are the old road wheels. And we'll get to that when we look at the newer ones. So I'll set one of those aside and I'll put one of those over there. Now, I mentioned the figure. The figure is molded very, very nicely. If I can get my camera to focus here on him. There are 2 small oddities with the figure, and none of them take away from, you know, the quality of him or anything. He's missing his belly, which is interesting. That's this piece down here is going to slot in for his belly. I'm sure there was a reason to do that, maybe to hide that push pin mark. I don't know. that's inside there. But the product we get is very, very nice. The other oddity is that one of his headphones is molded onto his head. Now, I thought this piece was broken when I first opened this kit, so relieved once I saw that. But just kind of some interesting techniques used by Tamiya here to get us a very, very nice figure, especially for plastic. So these are going to be what hold on the screens. So the photo etch screens, and they look really, really nice. I know they're a really simple part, but there's a lot of indicator marks and areas, so I think they will slot in very, very well and be very easy to make. Coming over to the bathtub style hull, this is an older part from, I think, even before the 70V kit. I believe this is from one of the Panzer IV kits. So this is something that, it does have a 1994 copyright in the middle there. So this is interesting because generally with new Tamiya kits, we'll have, you know, multi-part lower hull that'll have some support structure in the middle that will let us glue it together, right, into basically the perfect shape that we don't have to worry. So I personally don't mind a bathtub style hull at all. There's not a lot of detail, but you know, we're going to add front and back panels here and suspension and wheels to the side. So there's a lot of indicator marks and things like that here, but nothing really too crazy. I think it's just a way for them to get us another kit, probably at a lower expense to them. Next sprue, we're going to have basically all of the upper hull here, minus a couple details that are in the next sprue, but these are the big parts. Now, we do get some nice, that's going to be on the back here, front and back plates, right? There's some nice detail already molded in there, which is great. And I'm not sure if this will show through, if I can get the right light on it. But there is some really nice cast texture, not on that piece, but on this piece, and then on this piece. There's some really nice cast texture molded in there, and there's a lot of it. Generally, you see cast texture, you know, we'll get it on a Sherman, and it'll be on, you know, one or two pieces, and it's great, but you know, you'll see a lot of videos on YouTube of people adding cast texture, which we might do on this kit. I'm not sure yet. It's really nice when you see it in the plastic, but it might go away when we put paint on it. I don't know, because it is very minute. So we'll see, but it looks really, really nice, and kind of kudos to them for giving us so much cast texture. Alright, so first thing to point out here, this is our one-piece gun. Now, there is a seam on this side and a seam on that side. So there would be some work that needed to be done with this gun barrel. That being said, it would be extremely minimal. This is as nice of a plastic gun barrel, I think, as you're gonna see in a kit. So, is the metal gun barrel worth it? No, probably not. Is it convenient? Sure is, right? So, that's kind of the whole purpose of it. I might even build this up just to see kind of how they compare. But we have some tools, front of the gun mantlet here, another piece, and again, these have that nice cast texture that hopefully will kind of last once we paint it. And then I will point out here, because the tools that go on this kit, again, if I can get this to focus, there we go. The tools have the latches molded onto them. And I actually got this idea, if you know Champion Scale Modeling, he's a channel I followed for a very long time and am a big fan of. I'm borrowing this idea from him. I'm sure others have done it. This is just where I saw it. But if you take a small drill bit, I said in the beginning you don't need a lot of tools, but this is kind of a detailed up hack that I saw him do. Just drill out the middle of those clamps, right? And it will look realistic, because in real life, you wouldn't have that kind of blob of plastic there. That would be see-through. Not see-through, but I think you know what I mean. And you can do the same on all of these tools. Right, so anything like the axe here, you would be able to do the same thing. Now, I did this on the Panzer IV that we built in a previous video, and he does this as well. Now, I don't know if I'll do this with the link and length tracks because that's a tedious amount of work, but you can do the same on the outside of these tracks. You can drill holes there too to, you know, get some airflow in there. That is something that I know Champion Scale did every single one. I forget which kit he was building where he did it, but I used the T-Rex workable tracks and they came with those holes there. So I just had to do about 20 holes because I did it for the tracks, the auxiliary tracks that were just sitting on the vehicle. So I don't know, we'll see if it's worth it or not on these. What I do like is we get a pre-molded or pre-shaped top section here, so we'll have to wrap these around the, you know, the rotors and everything and the sprocket, but we do get a very nice set of link and length tracks here. Now, they're not my favorite, they never have been, but they are very, very nicely detailed, and I'll be interested to see because I've had this problem with pretty much every Tamiya kit that has link and length tracks. They are really, really tight. And if you've watched my Archer build, I did one side where I did exactly what it called for, and on the other side I did an extra. And I've done this on several of their kits. And the one side where I did exactly what they called for was just, it was so tight, and it's not a huge gap, but there is a gap. And the side where I add one track, it's too big, right? So we'll see how this works. Maybe that's something that they have figured out. But anyways, so we'll take a look. This is obviously the same sprue I just had, but we do have some cast texture on this sprocket as well. And we have some nice suspension in one piece, so we don't have to do a ton of work there. Now, these must be, yeah, these are going to be our new wheels. And what I will point out, and it's not noticeable here, but this is a big thing that I've been noticing on new Tamiya kits. And just new kits in general. Really anything that has link and length tracks, and I'm not a fan of it. Here we have polycaps. Now you'll notice we get polycaps for the periscope in this kit, which is very cool. Obviously the gun is going to work. I think every kit these days has a workable gun. And then the sprockets. We're going to get some polycaps in there. What we don't have anymore are polycaps for the road wheels. This is, it's one of those convenience things that for me is very frustrating. I understand that the way the kit is made, you know, you're supposed to put the tracks on and then paint them. I don't do it that way. I build the tracks in order for me to be able to take them off so I can paint them and weather them separately. And I like to not have the road wheels on. I know I didn't do this with the Panzer IV, but it makes weathering the lower hull much easier. And yes, can we put putty or something on and just keep them in place? We sure can. There's workarounds. But a polycap doesn't impact the quality of the wheel, right? It's not something they really have to engineer for. It's still made in a shape where you could put a polycap in there. We just don't have polycaps. Now, this, I'm sure I could probably find on eBay or something a whole bin of polycaps, and I probably have enough to do it on one or two vehicles in my spare parts box. But I just wanted to point that out because it is a little bit difficult. I like to paint my wheels on the vehicle. I'll paint the lower hull, you know, once it's dry, I'll put the wheels on, and then I'll paint the wheels there. And then while they're attached and spinning on the vehicle, that's when I like to paint them. So, a little bit of a personal thing. It does throw me off a little bit to not have the polycaps. It's something we can, yes, easily work through, but for just 12 poly caps or whatever, however many road wheels we're gonna have, I would just enjoy to keep seeing them on there. So just kind of a little soapbox rant for me on that topic. Now decals, this is very, very simple on this kit. And I believe both markings are the same. We get one marking for the fire extinguisher, and then a couple crosses and 611. I know it's hard to see in the light there. The 611s are white and see-through, or, you know, not colored in. But decals, very, very simple. They look pretty standard. I know Tamiya sometimes gets knocked for having thick decals. They look like they're probably along those same lines. I never had a problem with them, just use extra mark fit. And then we have our photo etch armor screens here that are going to go on the side. So they feel, now I know there's a piece of cardboard behind them. They look pretty thin, but they don't feel like they're going to bend when I cut them out of here. And that is, after building the Tacom half track, that was a big issue I had. The photo etch was really, really nice in terms of being able to bend and work and everything like that. But it was so thin that every piece you cut out bent while you were cutting it out. So I like that fine line between, yes, give me the detail. It's the whole purpose of having photo etch. But, you know, also make it a little bit easy for me as the modeler, right? Anyways, photo etch. You will need some photo etch glue, some canopy glue. I use that Mig Jimenez, the Ultra Glue, I think it's called. So that's really the only other tool you would need for this kit. Now, that being said, it is a little bit more complex because of the link and length tracks. But overall, this is a pretty low part count, right? There's a lot of big molded on parts in detailed areas that we don't have to worry about in construction. I mean, that's 4 or 5, I think it's 6 sprues in a bathtub style hole. And that might even be counting, you know, some of these road wheels that we're not going to end up using. But all in all, I'm very excited for this kit. Part of what I wanted to do was I had built my rubber band track kit, as I said about the Crusader, something that I wanted to do because I wanted an easy build. That's pretty much finished up, and I'll get that video out probably before I'll post this one. But I wanted to do a new Tamiya kit because there's something to be said about, yes, a rubber band track kit and the simplicity of that, but there's also something to be said about a new Tamiya kit. And just simple or not, the engineering on it is just always fantastic. I have no doubt that this will be exactly the same. So I'm excited to get you guys a build video on this. And something I've never done before are the yellow dots on the camouflage. I've done many times, you know, the 3-color camo, but I've never put the dots on there. So that's probably something that I will do on this kit. We'll get the metal gun barrel on there. We'll see if it was truly worth it. But if you guys liked this video, if you thought it was helpful, informative, anything really, please like and subscribe. We'll get many more of these going, and we'll get this onto the bench and built up. Thanks for watching.